Did you know that octopuses have three hearts, and two of them literally stop beating when they swim just to keep them from dying of exhaustion? So most of the time they just crawl instead because it's less stressful on their body. Like, imagine being a creature so smart and complex and fascinating, and still saying, nah, swimming's too much today. I'm just gonna vibe across the ocean floor. And somehow we're out here, dragging ourselves through life, trying to prove something to people who don't even like themselves. Performing worth like we're auditioning for a role we already had at birth, bending over backwards, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, just to be seen as enough. When the truth is, real confidence isn't loud. It's not charismatic. It's not about having the perfect words or the biggest following or the most likes. It's a feeling so deeply rooted in who you are that you don't need to prove anything to anyone because you know exactly who you are and you're finally okay with letting the world misunderstand you without losing sleep over it. Because let's be real, most of us are exhausted not from doing too much, but from constantly trying to be enough for people who wouldn't notice if we stopped trying. And we wake up scrolling for validation, doom scrolling through highlight reels of strangers who look like they've figured it all out while we're still in bed, trying to convince ourselves that getting up to brush our teeth counts as a win. And honestly, sometimes it does, because you can't build confidence on top of burnout. You can't fake presence when your nervous system is fried from pretending you're fine all the time. And the world has turned us into performers. Curated, branded, filtered versions of ourselves designed for maximum applause, minimum authenticity, and it's no wonder we feel like imposters. Because we're not living lives, we're managing perceptions. Overthinking every word, every text, every facial expression like we're directing a movie where we don't even believe in the main character. And we keep trying to earn rest, to deserve love, to prove peace. But here's the plot twist. Confidence doesn't come from proving, it comes from releasing, from stopping the performance long enough to actually hear your own voice again. The voice under all the noise, the one that doesn't care about algorithms or aesthetics. The one that says, this is who I am, even when it's messy, even when it's vulnerable, even when no one claps, because that's the only real confidence there is. The kind that doesn't flinch when misunderstood. The kind that doesn't explain itself to people committed to misunderstanding you. The kind that doesn't beg for seats at tables you were never meant to sit at. The kind that walks away in silence while other people waste energy trying to be louder. And somewhere deep down, you already know this. You've felt that voice, even if you've buried it under years of needing to be liked, accepted, included, safe. But safe for who, really? Because real confidence will cost you fitting in, it'll cost you approval, it'll cost you the identity you built to survive. But what you get in return is your life back. And look, I know you've been tired, like deep in your bones tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. The kind that comes from living in survival mode for too long. From trying to be lovable instead of being yourself. From choosing peacekeepers over truth tellers. From shrinking every time your light made someone else squint. From keeping your brilliance on dim just so no one called you too much. But here's the thing. You are too much for people who are not enough for themselves. And trying to be smaller won't make them love you more. It'll just make you disappear. And you were never meant to disappear. You were meant to take up space, not with noise, not with ego, but with presence. The kind of presence that doesn't need applause because it's too busy being real. And I've watched people spend their whole lives chasing the illusion of confidence, chasing status, chasing aesthetics, chasing followers, chasing approval, chasing goals that were never even theirs. Just to feel like maybe, finally, they're worthy. But you don't need to chase what's already inside you. You don't need to perform for people who aren't even paying attention. You don't need to win over people whose love is a transaction. You don't need to keep proving your value like it's on a discount rack, and you especially don't need to explain your healing, your silence, your boundaries, or your growth to people who never respected your brokenness. And let's talk about boundaries for a second, because if you were ever made to feel guilty for protecting your peace, hear me when I say this. You don't owe anyone access to a version of you that's dying to keep the peace. Real confidence is saying no without needing a reason. It's saying yes to your truth, even when it makes other people uncomfortable. It's walking away from roles you outgrew, even if everyone liked you better. When you played small, And yeah, it might get lonely. Yeah, people might fall away. Yeah, some people might say you've changed, but growth is change. And if they wanted to keep you, they would have grown with you. And look, I'm not saying this from a pedestal. I'm saying this from the dirt, from the therapy couch, from the late night overthinking sessions, from the why the hell am I still dealing with this meltdowns, from the mirror moments where I hated who I'd become just to be liked by people I didn't even respect. And it took me losing everything I thought made me valuable: success, followers, identity, even a relationship, to finally realize that confidence wasn't out there waiting for me in some perfect version of myself. It was already sitting quietly inside me, waiting for me to shut up long enough to hear it whisper, "You're already enough." And I know that sounds like a quote on a mug, but I swear to you, it's the only thing that's ever set me free. Because when you stop needing to be impressive, you start becoming real. When you stop needing to be right, you start becoming wise. When you stop needing to prove your light, you start becoming powerful in ways no title or achievement can touch. And there's a moment, and you'll know it when it comes, where you stop running, you stop performing, you stop chasing, and you start being. Not because life got easier, but because you got tired of pretending it didn't hurt. Tired of lying to yourself about what you actually want. Tired of pretending you're fine when you're really just emotionally hungover from saying yes too much. Tired of trying to explain your soul to people who only speak ego. Tired of minimizing your joy so no one feels jealous, and tired of constantly feeling like you're falling behind in a race you never signed up for. And that's when it happens. When you finally say, enough. When you start honoring your no's as much as your yeses. When you delete the text instead of justifying your boundaries. When you stop showing up just to be tolerated. When you start choosing peace over performance, alignment over appearance, solitude over fake connection, self-trust over validation, and you look in the mirror and for the first time in years, you actually see you, not the version you edited for approval, not the mask, not the act, just you, raw, imperfect, alive, and finally home in your own skin. And that, right there, is where confidence lives. Not in the applause, not in the achievements, not in the perfectly crafted story, but in the messy, unfiltered, unapologetic moment where you realize you don't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. Because you are not a performance, you're not a product, you're not a brand, you're a living, breathing miracle. And you've got nothing to prove, only a life to fully live. Because you're already enough, always have been. And the more you own that, the more unstoppable you become. Not because everyone will like you, but because it won't matter if they don't. And that's what real freedom feels like. Not needing to prove anything, just existing, just breathing, just being, fully, unapologetically, undeniably you. And if this hit something in you, if it cracked something open, or made you feel like maybe, finally, someone put words to what you've been carrying, then don't let that feeling slip away. Hold it, breathe it in, sit with it, and then pass it on. Because there's someone out there who needs this just as much as you did. Someone who's still performing, still exhausted, still questioning their worth in the dark at 2 a.m., hoping the next notification will make them feel real again. So be the one who sends this to them, not as motivation, but as a lifeline. Because we rise together, we wake up together, we heal together. And if you're still here right now, watching, listening, breathing, then this wasn't just a video. This was for you. So don't just watch it, live it. And if you feel brave enough, drop a comment below that says, "I'm done proving." So I know you're with me, because this is the start of a new chapter. The one where you stop performing, stop chasing, and finally start being who you were always meant to be.